Mara Gillespie served as an advisor to former House Speaker John Boehner. She is also the founder of Blue Stack Strategies and Democratic strategist Mark Lungabow. He is a former senior strategist for Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign. Good to see you both. So this is the first time they're debating. It's also the first time they're meeting at all. And the debate comes as this new polling, as we just showed, shows a razor-thin race, but with Trump holding a 1-point lead. Mara, what's Trump's greatest advantage coming into this debate and his greatest weakness?
Well, it's interesting when you phrase it like that, because I think there's both a strength and a weakness to be able to hit on the Harris campaign about things that have happened in the Biden-Harris administration that have largely been viewed as a failure. You know, in terms of talking about Afghanistan, you know, that's a clear one. We were going to have this meeting here this week. This Speaker Johnson's bringing in the families of the 13 fallen. During that Afghanistan withdrawal, and this report from Congressman McCall came out. So it's really, a skating time for this instance. What I think then is a weakness for Trump is on that same issue. Harris campaign could hit on the fact that Donald Trump invited the Taliban during his presidency to Camp David. He negotiated this terrible peace deal that really put a time cap on when the U.S. and allies would withdraw from Afghanistan. So really telling our enemies, our plans, which again, so I think there's a way there that the strengths that he thinks he has in his back pocket, the Harris administration or the Harris campaign would be smart to hit back on those things and pointing out what Trump did, because the American people have a very short-term memory in a lot of ways. And so this is something to remind them of what actually happened during Trump's administration.
Mark, same question, but for Harris, walking into that debate tomorrow, what's her greatest advantage and what's her greatest weakness?
Well, I think number one, be one of the toughest debaters that Donald Trump has ever faced. And I think the real goal, and I agree with Isaac Dover in your previous segment here, I think the real objective for Harris is to talk to the American people about who she is and what she wants to do in her first term as an administration. I think she wants to talk about her her opportunity economy in terms of tax cuts for the middle class, not for billionaires. A $6,000 tax credit to cut child poverty, investments in our American economy like the CHIPS Act. So I think she's going to talk to the American public about where she wants to go. I also think she's going to prosecute the case against Trump, but I think she's going to be smart to do this on abortion and on the economy and not to back too much.
And Mark, what about her greatest weakness? I mean, Trump is infamously unpredictable. He can be quite unpredictable. I mean, going into this, sort of what is the area that you sort of are bracing for that maybe you are concerned about?
I'm concerned about his rash behavior.
Actually, Mark, give me 1 second. I just wanted Mark to answer that in terms of Kamala Harris.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked a lot about some of the challenges she's had as vice president. I think she's got to keep her answers short and crisp, stay away from the word salad kind of stuff. And I think she's got to put some real agenda on the table. She's got to have some real substance in the debate. I also think, which we all do in these, when we practice for these debates, we're looking for big moments. And I think she's been pretty good at that over the course of her career, going all the way back to when she ran statewide, straight through her presidential debates, her debate with Mike Pence. I think there are going to be a couple of big moments she's going to have.
Mara, I actually want to let you listen to this interview that Harris released this morning, that she's preparing for attacks on her being a woman and attacks on her being a woman of color. Take a listen to what she said.
I think he's going to lie. And, he has a playbook that he has used in the past, be it, his attacks on President Obama or Hillary Clinton. So we should expect that some of that might come out.
Mara, are you concerned about that type of approach? And is that the type of strategy that gets Trump votes beyond just his base? Is that the type of thing that you think attracts additional voters to the Republican side?
I don't know who's advising him to continue to do these attacks on women, but it's really, they should be fired. I mean, this is not going to help him. He is largely losing that chunk of the population, which women make up more than 50% of the population now. And so for him to go after women's rights and to talk about women in disparaging ways, as he has done repeatedly, that is not going to help him appeal to an audience that he needs to win over. And especially on Tuesday night, this is a really big opportunity. You showed the polls earlier in the show. This is really important that people are paying attention and that the candidates themselves are speaking to the demographics that they need to win over, because they have their base, right? Trump has his MAGA base kind of locked in. They're not going to go for Harris. They're not going to go for anyone else but him. So he needs to find a way to talk policy, to talk compassionately, which again is really hard for him because he does go by a certain playbook that has won him the 2016 election. So I don't know that his manner of speaking to women is going to help him win anyone over, truly.
Mark, early voting begins in Pennsylvania and 4 other states this month. It began last week in North Carolina. This debate tomorrow may be either candidate's largest audience before the election. What do you think undecided voters are hoping for? And I guess my question is, at this stage of the election, are you tailoring your message as the candidate to these critical battleground states? Are you talking more, for example, about energy policy? Because, Pennsylvanians are listening. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think this race is probably going to come down to the 3 blue wall states: Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And I think you've got to tailor your message to those states. And I think you've got to talk about kitchen table issues and how you're going to improve the lives of people in those states. So I think you've seen both candidates tailor their schedules tremendously towards the battleground states, and listen, Democrats are going to win the national electoral or the national vote. We're disadvantaged in the electoral college, and that's where the Republicans have a slight advantage.
And Mara, talk to me a little bit about what you think undecideds are hoping to hear from Trump. For those 10 to 15 percentage point of people who, with 57 days out, are saying, still haven't made up my mind. What are they listening for?
They want to hear how he plans on doing the things that he says he can do. He talks largely at rallies about everything's going to be fixed. It's going to be better. It's going to be great. And the minute I get in there, I'll make one call. It's all fixed. Okay, but how? I think that's a really big issue here, is that people want to understand how will it get better? And that's for both candidates, truly. But I think when it comes to Trump, there's something that people are going to have to realize is that if you thought it was better in 2016 and you thought that things were going well then, the people who were in charge in his administration have largely abandoned him and not wanted to be anywhere near him. And of those people who are no longer in his orbit, they're speaking out against why he shouldn't be in the White House ever again. And so it comes to a question of, how do you plan on doing this, and who do you plan on putting around you to make this go forward? So talking policy, getting into the nuts and bolts of it in this debate is going to be important, because not only does he need to explain how he plans to do things, he's also got to talk to women, talk about childcare issues, and actually talk about issues that women care about, and not just attacking. And I think that's going to be hard for him, because it's easier for him to attack than it is to lead from the front with policy plans and a proposal of forward-looking, not backward scraping.
Yeah, the child care issue last week and his speech in New York was an issue that he seemed to sort of struggle with. He couldn't really quite find his words there when he was talking about child care. Mark, last point to you. Harris's campaign has pointed out repeatedly that this debate will be Trump's 7th presidential debate. That is true, but is there an effort here to try to lower expectations heading into this?
Oh, sure. I mean, both sides will do that to some degree. But I think, listen, as I said earlier, I think Kamala Harris is a very accomplished debater. She's got a very good team prepping her for this. And unlike Trump, she's taking her preparation seriously. She knows this is a big moment for her biggest moment, really, since the convention. I think she's going to have a very good debate. I think she's going to have some big moments. And I think she's going to lay out an agenda for the American people that I think is going to be very appealing.
And it all goes down in the quite important city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Good to see you both, Mara Gillespie, Mark Lungabout. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.